Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever and whenever you are. My name is Benjamin, and welcome to another Godot tutorial video. In this video, we'll be doing part 5 for our Ninja Platformer tutorial series. We'll be fixing an issue where our Ninja character can infinitely air jump. We'll be talking about node ordering in the scene tree, and I'll also be adding the attack animation and syncing the upper and lower animations for our character. We'll start writing the code for that. This video and the other videos in this series were made possible by the students who purchased my Godot courses on my website. If you're interested in those, there will be a link in the description and a link at the end of this video. Let's come into the player character, and we're going to address the infinite jumping issue very first. If we come into our code for jumping right here, we can see that we have is action pressed UI up and nothing else. So in order to jump, we just have to press the up key. But what we want to do is actually make sure that the player is on the ground as well. So we'll say if input.is action just pressed UI up and is on floor. We add that in. Now our player character can only jump when they're on the floor. They have no air jumps. Okay. Real quick, our code here has multiple is on floor checks. I've written this code in a way to make it more understandable for beginners, but as we progress through the series, we will be refactoring this code in order to clean it up a little bit. So just keep that in mind. Now let's look at node ordering in the scene tree. And I'm bringing this up because one of the viewers commented, if you remember, a problem we had earlier was that the sprite upper was actually being displayed behind the sprite lower. And my solution to this was to set the z index to 1. There's another solution. So you can set it to 0 and you could actually swap the order of these two sprites. We could put sprite lower above sprite upper, and that would change the order in which they're rendered. So order in the scene tree over here matters. It does matter. And if we swap the order, now that fixes the problem. Sprite upper is now displayed on top of sprite lower. So why didn't I use this solution if it's so easy to just swap them? The reason I didn't want to use this solution was because I actually had them swapped in my reference project initially, but it kept confusing me. It was unintuitive to have sprite upper below sprite lower in the scene tree. And I didn't want to fight my own intuition. And so in order to keep the order here in a way that made sense to me intuitively, I changed the z index on upper to 1. And that solution works just fine as well. Okay, so now let's get into setting up our attack animation. So we're going to come into our animation player upper. We're going to click animation and we're going to do new. Oh, actually, first let's set this to 0.1 down here, and we'll set snap. We'll turn snap on as well. I don't know why it reset there, but I fixed it. So maybe yours was already still 0.1. I'm going to do new, and I'm going to call this attack. Make sure you have upper selected, your animation upper. And then we're going to go into sprite upper. We're going to find our frame 7. Frame 7. This is the first animation on our attack. Start with that frame. And then we'll key 8 and 9. We'll zoom in just a little bit here. And we'll set the length to 0.3 and save. Got a good attack animation. Let's start playing this animation. We'll go into our player, and right here under our is action just pressed, we can say if input.is action just pressed UI space animation player upper dot play attack. All right, we want to play our attack animation. Okay, UI space doesn't exist. I made that up. It's actually UI accept. here in just like the next video, probably in this series, we'll be reworking all of our input actions here because they're a mess right now. Using up for jump feels terrible. UI accept for space or for attack. UI left and UI right. We're going to change those in the next few videos. Just for simplicity, I'm using them right now. Let's run this, and you'll see that if we press space, we don't attack. Character doesn't attack. Okay. Why is that? Well, we could check to make sure that this line of code is being run by putting a breakpoint right here. And we can put a breakpoint right here by pressing F9. So we select this line, we press F9, and it puts this little red dot here. That's a breakpoint. Now when we run our code, if we press the space key and we get this breakpoint notification here in our game, we know that we are reaching this line of code. So there's nothing wrong with this line here. We're making it to this line of code. Why isn't our attack animation playing? Well, it is. If we're reaching this line of code, it's 100% playing, right? So since we didn't get any other error messages, right, we know that it's playing. So what's happening is our other animations here are actually overriding it. So it starts playing the attack animation and then immediately gets overridden by one of these other animations. The solution to this, or the start of the solution, is just to remove these other animations. We'll move run, we'll remove jump, we'll remove stand. Make sure you're removing the upper version. We want to keep the lower. And then we can run the game, and now we can see that our attack animation is playing, but then it never syncs back to our lower animation, right? We never get it to sync back. So what we're going to do is write the code that syncs the upper and lower animations. We're going to do this using signals. So come create a ready function up here with an underscore. So you've got the underscore. And this function is, if physics process runs every single physics frame, this function runs when the node is ready in the scene. So when our player is ready, it only runs once the player is ready in the scene. And inside of here, we can connect to some signals on our animation players. So we'll say animation player lower. Animation player lower dot current animation changed. So this is a signal on our animation player. If you click on animation player over here and then you click on the node tab, you can see we have a signal called current animation changed. And this signal is kind of like a notification that gets sent out whenever the animation changes on your animation player. So whenever the animation player lower changes, this signal will get sent out. And we're going to connect to this signal, this notification, and we're going to run a function whenever the notification happens. And we'll create this function right away, just like inline right here in our code. But you can see that this signal has an argument called animation name. Let's see, current animation changed. It's called name, right? This is the name of the animation that we're changing to. We'll call this animation name. We could type it as a string, make sure that Godot knows it's a string. Now we could just print this for now, animation name, like this, and run the game. Every time the lower changes, it prints out the new animation. Stand, jump. It does keep switching to stand because our animation is working. You can see that it's printing out the name. So what we can do here is we can add some code that says animation player upper dot play animation name. So now whenever our lower animation player changes animations, our upper animation will also play that animation. And that's how we can sync them together. And you can see it works when we're running, jumping, it's all working, right? Now if we press space, unfortunately, we've got some issues here. Especially if we press space and then immediately start walking. So let's focus on this first issue. So we press space, we're playing our attack animation, and then our lower animation changes in the middle of our attack animation, and it immediately syncs the upper animation and cancels the attack. That's similar to what we were having before, though not quite as bad. The way we can solve that problem is by making sure that when our current animation changes for the lower, it only updates the upper if the upper isn't already playing the attack animation. We can do this by saying if animation player upper dot current animation is equal to attack return. That means if it's playing the attack animation, just skip out of this and don't sync our animations anymore. And that will solve our issue where if we start an attack and then immediately move, it doesn't cancel the attack. Right? And this is close, but now we have a problem where if we're standing, for example, and we press the attack animation, our lower isn't ever changing animations. Therefore, it's never updating and syncing the upper to match it anymore. So how can we make sure that they sync when the lower is not changing animations, right? In this case right here. The way we can solve that problem is by connecting to another signal. We'll connect to the animation finished signal on our upper animation. Okay, so see animation finished, and it also has an argument of animation name. So we can say animation player upper dot animation finished dot connect. Make a function. It will have an animation name as well that's passed into it. And this is now the name of the animation that just finished, right? When are we concerned with that? We're only concerned with that if the animation that just finished was our attack animation. We'll say if animation name is not equal to attack return. Because again, we don't care if any other animation finishes. We're not concerned with those other animations. But when our attack animation finishes, that's when we're concerned with, okay, we need to sync the upper animation player to the lower animation player. So down here, we'll say animation player upper dot play. What animation do we want to play? Animation player lower dot current animation. We'll take whatever the current animation is on our lower animation player and set that to our upper animation player. And run the game. And now we can attack quite nicely. And our upper and lower are synced outside of the attack animation, right? With the exception of when we're attacking. Now there is one minor bug that exists but might not be entirely visible. But that bug is that our upper animation and our lower animation might be on different frames. So here's a scenario. Let's say you're running, okay? And you attack. And you finish your attack animation. And your run animation is 5 frames into the run. Your attack animation is going to finish, and you're going to play the run animation on your upper animation player, on the upper sprite, but it's going to start playing that animation from 0. So now your upper, whoops, I bumped the mic. Hopefully that wasn't too bad. Now your upper animation is playing on from frame 0, and your lower animation is playing from frame 5. And they're synced in the sense that they're playing the same animation, but they're not synced because they're not at the same spot of that animation. This isn't a concern up here, because if the lower is changing, then it's switching to a new animation. It will start at 0. And so the upper starting at 0 is fine. They're synced. But down here, it's a concern. And what we can do is we can just say animation player upper dot seek animation player lower dot animation. I don't remember the name of this thing. Animation player lower dot current animation position. So that gets the current position of, oh, I did seed. I wanted seek. There we go. This will just sync to make sure that they're playing from the same spot, right? Our upper will make sure that it's playing on the exact same frame as the lower. You can run this again, make sure this works. I mean, you can't really see it. It's hard to notice, but it does fix that problem. Cool. Okay, so in the next video, we're going to be doing some polish. We're going to clean up our code a little bit. We're going to add input actions so that we're not just using the default UI input actions. And we're going to be refining our character's movement as well to match the movement that I have in my reference project. This is a little bit slower than I have and doesn't feel quite as good. So that's what we'll be doing in the next few videos. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and check out my Godot courses. I will see you all in the next episode.